I'm that girl who knows that if you're not wanting to be held accountable for your choices, you may feel like you're being attacked when you are reminded of your perceptions and approaches to things that are happening around this world and how your demeanor is to others. And so I understand that once again, my role is to mirror your behaviors to each other, to yourselves, to be able to just get in balance and on track and be accountable for your choices and decisions. It's hard. And I know that this information and these positions that your teams are wanting you to be into, to step into, are not for all. Certainly not. Certainly not, because you can't have, say, I don't want to say leaders of the new earth, but you can't have kind of those really important, stable positions on the new earth if you haven't really done much in your 3D to experience and overcome, to be able to empathize and to be able to identify exactly what other people are going through. Because remember, you're going to be quite a different energetics. And so you can read each other profoundly. And if you are reading someone on the new earth and you haven't mastered that yourself, understood what those feelings and that density and how to overcome it is, how can you help them? If you haven't done the work yourself here, how can you help and be of service there? It is different, yes, absolutely, but how can you identify and resonate with what those people are going through when you're still going through it yourselves? And so congratulations to all those people who've done all of the hard work, who have seriously taken responsibility with the information from these sessions and applied it. Because you know within you there is something important for you to do, and more than just your ego, more than just a booster of your ego and your I don't know what it is, what people get sort of stuck with. But I'm just so glad that only the appropriate people are listening to this information, because it's for you. It's tailor-made for you. And so for those who are not ready to be of service, but just feel like, because they feel special, I mean, we're all special, we're all unique, we're all one, we're all source, we're all gods, whatever you want to call it. But we actually have to be of service. And this is when a lot of people get really pissed off, because their lives are already hard. How are they supposed to then care about other fucktards? I hear this all the time. That people just are refusing to be able to be of service and love others. You have to love all, every single one. There is not one person that's walking this earth or who has walked this earth that doesn't get divine love. So here we are, little Miss Judgy Pants, and not loving others. While we don't necessarily love some of their choices, that's for sure, we can respect their life contracts and soul journeys, knowing that while they're making a buttload of mistakes right now in our perception, they're going to be learning quickly after this shift or during this shift that some of their choices and behaviors haven't been serving them or humanity. So we don't have to do anything to help them along. They will definitely find themselves stumbling at some point. And this is not me dictating this. This is what we've heard in sessions, and this is what happens. If you're not preparing yourself, truly preparing yourself emotionally, mentally, everything for what is coming, you're definitely going to flip around. And there is a special group of people who are already mastered all of that, have found their profound balance and neutral, and are just patiently waiting while trying not to add any density to humanity, and while trying very hard to be as stable as possible, to be able to still love all, and to be able to trust and have faith that everything that is happening is for necessary experiences, life contracts, and purposes. And you literally could just, anytime you see anything and that kind of triggers you, pause the emotions and think, what is the lesson here? What is the purposes here? What's the significance? Just asking those questions and knowing there is answers to those questions. Always answers to those questions. The lessons, lots. The purpose, purposeful. Everything has significance. There's no accidents that happen in this world at any sort of, it's all lessons, isn't it? So I see so many people right now triggered to beyond triggered, and that is their choices. And they are still thinking that, this is all new experiences that haven't been sort of predicted before. And many people are coming to me with Nostradamus material and pointing out quadrants of Nostradamus and saying, this is it, and this is it, and this is it. And I say, well, we've already discussed many times with Nostradamus himself, from his perspective, what's going on, including his subconscious, including his collectives. So you're trying to hold literature from the 80s today. Yes, we know his quadrants have many messages and can talk for many different timelines. But even if you did find the ones that were appropriate and applicable to today, that's great research. But what next? Knowing Dolores Cannon's informations, knowing all the other quantum sessions that have been provided, do you still need to find little details to suggest to you and give you confirmation that this shift is coming and that big things are coming, and unfortunately big traumatic things have to unfold for those people to learn those experiences and lessons and have opportunities to choose better choices for humanity? When the density gets squeezed out of everyone, it doesn't look pretty, does it? It's kind of like when you're cleaning and you're going to, like, say, clean the pantry, and you have to take everything out of the pantry. And when you're trying to clean, you actually make a lot of other mess while you're trying to get to the root of the actual bare bones of that pantry. You take everything out and you have to reorganize everything. And, not everything gets placed back in there. And so the expired products potentially could be that density. And so, we're all going through this. No country is exempt from these experiences. And as the world is deeply connected through the power of the internet, we all have the opportunities to be well aware of things that are currently happening for each country. And if you have been more aware of the world, you would know for many, 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 many years, many things have been happening for different countries. So, or same things have been happening for the same countries. But just because now the media is putting their directional spotlight on it, suddenly you have interest in it. So let's just look at the history of things and try and see if that puts anything into perspective. It is a bit hard when we are only able to see the media's spotlight, because that their directional points sort of interestingly edited and twisted. Their angles are quite interesting for their own agendas. So listening to actual people who live there and who've lived there for ages would be a better account than, say, someone who was being paid by governments to regurgitate directional information for the mass hysteria that they are still trying to gain popularity with. So there's that. Interesting thing they wanted me to point out is if you're sleeping on your stomach, if you're sleeping on your front, you're trying to depressurize the emotions that are heavily weighing you down. And if you are sleeping on your back, it means that you have released most of that emotions and you're actually got balance and you're just supporting the skeletal system. And so if you're doing your quantum sessions with your free practitioners or paid practitioners or whomever you can find to help you with your sessions, ask about your body in terms of where you're laying your density, where you have internal density. Is it your skeletal system or is it your emotional system? It's quite important to kind of know that and just be able to check in with your bodies. We know that they're just meat suits, but while we've got these meat suits, we might as well acknowledge them and hear all of the messages that they're telling us, because we should be respecting our bodies and listening to our bodies. And when we are out of alignment and distracted, we will ignore them quite easily until they get louder or more painful or something else. So, we have lots to be aware of. We really, truly are also beings that have, many things that we're juggling with. And if we focus on a few, we can easily drop many. So, it's a balance. It is difficult. But again, knowing who you are and knowing why you are here, you're well qualified for the job, well qualified. And they want you to almost remind yourself of what training you actually took to come here. You didn't accidentally stumble across Earth and think, oh, well, why not? I'll give it a shot. You had a lot of training. We all had a lot of training to be here now. And so when you know that it is not an accident you're here, when you know you're of service and it's purposeful for you to be here now, it's really important to trust that you are very capable of mastering this and being of profound service. 100%. And every time I feel like I'm being pushed and pressurized to remind you of this, it always comes across as kind of, pushing you guys into something that you're not capable of, or, how dare I even suggest you being reminded how brilliant you are and how of service you are and how profound you are and how special you are and how important you are. And so many of you find it frustrating. How dare I remind you that you can be more capable and more of service than what you currently are. It's not a judgment of where you are at now. It's a service reminder of how brilliant you all can be. But you're still blocking yourselves. You're still limiting yourselves. You're still afraid of yourselves. You're still afraid of your truths. You're still afraid of sharing your truths. So let's unpack why. Are you afraid of a dislike? Are you afraid of an unfollow? Are you afraid of someone removing you from Facebook? Those triggers are not your responsibilities. Those triggers are their inner work and a reflection of their inner work. And so it's hard to love everyone, isn't it, when they're not willing to even love themselves or see themselves as bigger divine beings who are here to be of service. It's challenging. It's absolutely challenging. But if I didn't do what my teams were pushing me to do, I would be part of the problem also. I don't want to be part of the problem at all. And so I want to know that when I get to the new earth, and for those who also get to the new earth, you know that my integrity to help you all the most and the very best I could was done. I've been of service. I do the best I can to try to help you get this information, for you to be able to hear the information from different clients, and that is consistently the same information material. So, I don't want to be embarrassed or ashamed that I have held back and not wanted to share with you any of the information that is important for you to be able to apply, for you to move forward. It's all there. It's absolutely all there. And they're wanting to remind you to please go and listen back to some of those sessions, conversations with Heaven on Earth today. Ask your teams to be guided to the most appropriate one and find it and listen to it and hear the information. You will get given your questions that you're asking them. So It's all easy to think that you've already listened to them and you've already heard the information. It's much harder to apply it. And so they're just reminding you all of that library of information is there for you freely 24/7. There is no excuses not to know the information at this point. And for those people who are listening to my recommendations of getting intern sessions, and they've been listening to these sessions for over a year, and they've just very recently decided to get an intern session, and now they've actually had confirmation themselves that the new Earth is a new planet. It's like they're back at square one, because now they've got undeniable proof. Previously, this was entertainment, this was novelty, this was oh, well, that happens for Jo and her clients. But now they have the responsibility of owning the information for themselves. They weren't quite prepared for that. And actually, when they confess to me, they say, I actually was afraid that this was the truth. And so I actually didn't want to have a session because I don't know how to apply that. I don't know how to approach that. I don't know how to live knowing that that information that you say in all your sessions is true. And I understand that, absolutely. And I understand that's mostly the reason why people do not want their own sessions. You don't want the proof, the undeniable proof. And so many people just dismiss it. You know, they distract themselves. Oh, look, a toenail that's needing cut. I don't know, whatever happens. But, you know, it's always choices. And so it feels like a lot of teams have tried to push people into hearing this information because they know who you are. They know why you are here. And many people have been delivered this information that's undeniable proof, and they've still chosen to turn their backs on helping and being of service. And it seems like there still needs to be lots more people to step up and to be of service, to help those on the new Earth. And so when many people are failing to make those choices to be of service, to complete and fulfill their own life contracts, it's like they need more people to be ready to be able to support those. So it's interesting because it's all us, isn't it? We all shift, and then we all have to support those on the new Earth as they are adjusting. So it's still not other beings coming in and leading us. We are sort of the future, and we are, I don't like the label leaders, but we are the ones that need to support those because we understand and work through this information and prepared to work through this information, to love them and support them, because we've all gone through all of the stages of emotions that they are going through. So it's interesting. It's interesting times, that's for sure. And I feel like many of your subconsciouses are reaching out to me to poke at you, and you know, that's fine. You know, but I can only do as much as I can. And when people have choices to turn their backs and to walk away from this information because it's too hard, you know, I understand that. I definitely would have done that at some point. And I think I may have done that at some point when it just felt too overwhelming. And, you know, we know that there are so many beings here now. There's probably more beings supporting us in the different dimensions than there is actually on Earth. So this is a very well orchestrated, supported situation and event, and they're getting my attention a lot. And so it's because many are still not wanting to have that moment of just meditating and going within and sensing what's the most appropriate thing for them today. And we still judge people as being toxic or prickly cactuses, don't we? And really, if they're in our lives, they're the ones we're supposed to serve and love and support and not avoid. And I know it's kind of challenging, but you have to sort of prepare yourselves and balance yourselves and love yourselves and be so strong and secure within yourselves that you can handle a cactus fantastically, easily, because those pricks are not for you. those pricks are actually embedded in themselves, and they're reminding you of how damaged and hurt they are. And so instead of judging them for damaging and hurting themselves, we can love them and give them support and nurture them, or not. It's a choice. There's still so much, and so many people are starting to discover information that's already been in Dolores's books. And as I said, I did these sessions without reading all of her information. I still haven't read all of her books. And every time I pick up a book, I think, God, we just discovered this in a session last week. If I just heard this before. This just seems to be the way that my personal journey is. And so, yes, Dolores talks about man-made weather, absolutely. And we just had that session with Sally, which was discussing that too. So there's lots of things going on that may be natural or unnatural, but when you have to work out and deal with a whole planet, knowing that the planet's physical life has expired, is about to expire because of its density, and it's because it's been so poisoned, and all that really disappointing stuff. Think about that, what actually has to occur. We know what the death of a body looks like and how that decays and breaks down. And it's the same for a planet too, which sounds strange, isn't it? Because we shouldn't, and we should always rely on planets being here for us, right? They've been here for millions of years. Why now? Why are we here now? Okay, and so just remember that lots of water still needs to be taken up. I know they harp onto that, don't they? So still, some of you still could be drinking a bit more water, and that's really going to flush out lots of toxins, a lot of toxins. And remember, like, Himalayan salt is not the devil, okay? Salt is actually soulful. It's actually quite helpful. It's got lots of minerals in it, and it's actually really giving to you. Let's just say that sugar rapes your body, and salt actually sort of nurtures the body in some regards, doesn't it? So, you know, watch what salts you're having and find the good ones. And then, of course, Epsom salts are very good in baths. And so remember, whatever you've been told is bad, and we always sort of, it's almost like flip what we've been told and trained, right? Because it seems to be almost the opposite. Whatever is bad potentially could actually be good for us, because they still promote interesting food choices, don't they? Rabbiting on today. Just seeing if there was something else. The opportunities to be able to spend more time with family members is not an accident or coincidence. And so really treasure these times together and honor these times together and make memories with these times together. Because we know that things do get more intensive. And so whenever we are having a good moment, embrace it. Almost like make sure you're saving it to the memory banks. Recall all of the details of it and be in that moment deeply, and hold on to it and enjoy it with gratitude. We forget gratitude, don't we? It's like the last on our list, and it really should be the first on our list. So even when we're having these really hard experiences, have gratitude that when we learn them, we will never have to experience them again like it. And that is really important. If we're hating something so much, freaking learn from it, because if you hate it so much, you don't want it to be on repeat, right? You want to learn from it as soon as possible, so then you absolutely have it done and dusted, because we don't want to keep repeating these things. And it seems like humanity has not learned from itself at all. We keep seeing cycles of history repeat and repeat and repeat. We have to learn, because we're all connected to the collective of humanity. And so while we're here on Earth and we're having this Earth experience, we are all adding into the human collective. We're giving them great examples, great experiences, great lessons. And so do we all need to learn the same lessons? No. Some of us do, and then that gets put into the memory banks of the human collective. That's quite important, isn't it? It's like the 100th monkey effect in some regards. So when we are processing these experiences and learning and understanding how we can heal from things, it's quite significant. I will give you an example of once we learned, and once we did in the session to remove the C19 from the lung, it seemed to be a really interesting impact, because once we did it in a session, then that information got registered, and then it's like all the collectives then knew how to do it to others. So it's very, very, very interesting how they are learning too. And so we have to be exploring and having much experiences and learning from things to be able to then help our teams know exactly how to help others. It's all fascinating. This work is incredible. It's one of my favorite topics. And so I do appreciate those people who are messaging me now all in a fuddle, because they're at step one of understanding that this information is true. And the daunting reality that they're shifting, and so is humanity. They're listening now to the sessions with all fresh ears and actually accepting this information rather than just novelty factor, because they had massive doubts about it until they had their own session. And it took them quite a while to get to that point. And I can understand that. I can truly understand that, because you're not really wanting to step into it because it feels too full on. But actually, when you know the bigger information, you know the significance and purposes of what's happening and where we're going, there is actually beauty and peace and profound acceptance when you hear the full information and where people end up. And while there may be some uncomfortable moments still left to be had on the current earth we're living on now, that doesn't define people. That's not the end of their stories. They're so much more grateful to be on the new earth once they get there. And this is what Dolores Cannon said in a session, isn't it? You'll be so relieved to get to the new earth. You'll be so grateful to be out of here, because it's getting a lot more intensive. So it's uncomfortable, right? It's hard to be jazz handsy looking forward to more discomfort. And this is why we have to do our inner work. This is why we have to find our balance. This is why we have to have trust and faith and connect into our teams. You all are very capable of connecting in with your teams. You're all very capable of connecting in with your teams. Absolutely. Absolutely you are. And so I highly recommend you taking those moments to just feel within. Have a question. What's the most appropriate thing you need to know today? And allow the senses of them to come through to give you that message. And can you honor that message? Can you respect that message and apply that message? It could be the very big stepping stone for you to trust that message. I love you guys so much. I want you to have a fantastic day. Please, 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 please find your joy. Find your beautiful moments of joy. And be grounded into that, and know that we're all together. We've all come down here to be of service together. It's not just the weight and responsibility of everything just on you. We have our own shares that we are able to support without us completely going bonkers. So just see what responsibilities you are holding on to, and see if it is appropriate. Because sometimes we can overburden ourselves with too much responsibility that actually isn't ours. And so it's a fine line, isn't it? Okay, have a fantastic day. Enjoy, 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 enjoy.